The massive space station Harmony's edge floated peacefully among the stars, its crystal walls reflecting the light of distant suns. Inside the grand ceremonial hall, hundreds of alien beings gathered for one of the most important events in galactic history. Today, 12 species would sign the Unity Accord, a treaty promising peace and cooperation across the galaxy. Among the crowd of strange creatures with scales, tentacles, and glowing eyes stood a small human girl. Park Mina was only 16 years old, with short black hair and bright, curious eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's cultural exchange program, and in her hand she held a small recording device. "This is amazing," she whispered into the recorder, trying not to disturb the ceremony. "There are beings here from worlds I've only read about in books. The Velnari have skin that changes color with their emotions. The Keth delegates wear robes that seem to be made of liquid starlight. I wish everyone back on Earth could see this." Mina was one of only 8 humans chosen for this program. Earth was still new to galactic politics, and most species saw humans as primitive creatures who had barely learned to travel between planets. But Mina didn't care what they thought. She had dreamed of this moment her entire life. Her parents were both language teachers at Seoul National University. They had filled their home with books about alien cultures and recordings of alien languages. While other children played video games, Mina had practiced speaking in clicks and whistles, preparing for the day when she might meet beings from other worlds. "I want to be humanity's first xenosociologist," she had told the selection committee 6 months ago. "I want to help our species understand each other." Now she was here, watching history unfold before her eyes. The ceremony was beautiful beyond imagination. Each species presented gifts that represented their greatest achievements. The crystalline Velnari offered sculptures that sang with musical tones. The plant-like Grovani brought seeds that could grow in any soil. The mechanical Synthen presented computational matrices that could solve complex problems in seconds. When it was time for refreshments, Mina carefully made her way through the crowd. The station's artificial gravity was different from Earth's, and she still felt slightly unsteady on her feet. The other delegates towered over her, some reaching 3 meters in height, but they were polite and curious about the young human. "You are very young to be a diplomat," observed Counselor Zephmira, whose blue skin sparkled with tiny scales. Mina smiled. "I'm not a diplomat, sir. I'm a student. I'm here to learn about your cultures and help my people understand the galaxy better." The alien nodded approvingly. "A noble goal, young one." Knowledge shared as knowledge multiplied. Feeling confident and happy, Mina picked up a glass of pale blue liquid from the refreshment table. It was a traditional Keth beverage called Zeltai, which was supposed to promote friendship and understanding. How perfect, she thought, for a ceremony about unity. She turned to find someone to talk with and spotted High Counselor Thekvar of the Keth Empire. He was an impressive figure, nearly 2.5 meters tall, with four golden eyes and elaborate ceremonial robes that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. His species was known for their honor codes and ancient traditions. Mina had studied Keth culture extensively. She knew their history, their art, their complex social structures. She had even learned some basic phrases in their clicking musical language. This was her chance to make a real connection. But as she approached, the station's gravity field fluctuated slightly. Later, investigators would determine it was a minor technical glitch, the kind that happened occasionally on space stations. For just a moment, gravity shifted and Mina stumbled. The glass slipped from her hands. Time seemed to slow as she watched the pale blue liquid arc through the air and splash across Thekvar's magnificent robes. The ceremonial garments, woven with threads that took decades to create, were instantly stained. "Oh no, I'm so sorry." Mina immediately reached for her translation device and began speaking in careful Keth phrases. She pressed her palms together and bowed deeply, exactly as her cultural training had taught her. It was supposed to be a gesture of sincere apology and respect. But Mina had made a terrible mistake. The gesture she performed, innocent to human eyes, was one of the most insulting acts possible in Keth society. By pressing her palms together while bowing, she had just told Thekvar that his ancestors were worthless and his bloodline was cursed. Thekvar's 4 eyes blazed with fury. Around them, The ceremonial hall fell silent as other delegates realized what had happened. The young human had no idea what she had just done. Filthy primitive. Thekvar's voice boomed through the hall's translation systems, causing several smaller species to cower in fear. How dare you mock the sacred memory of my forebears? How dare you spit upon 10,000 years of Keth honor? Mina looked up in confusion, still holding her palms pressed together. She didn't understand. She had been trying to apologize. Please, I was just trying to say sorry. But Thekvar was beyond reason. In his mind, this primitive creature had deliberately insulted him in front of the entire galactic community. His ceremonial energy blade, a weapon of great spiritual significance, ignited with a brilliant white light. The insult demands blood, he declared. Before anyone could move, before anyone could speak, before Mina could even understand what was happening, the blade swept down in a perfect arc. The girl who had dreamed of bringing species together fell to the polished floor of the ceremonial hall. Her recording device scattered across the ground, still running, still faithfully documenting everything it saw. Park Mina died without understanding why. The silence in the ceremonial hall lasted exactly 17 seconds. Then Counselor Velterran of the Assembly stepped forward, their translator converting soft clicking sounds into words that filled a massive space. Most unfortunate, they announced to the gathered delegates. The Council expresses deep regret for this cultural misunderstanding. Standard reparations will be processed according to Galactic Law 7.4.2. Around the hall, hundreds of alien beings nodded in agreement. Cultural accidents happen sometimes when so many different species try to communicate. It was sad, but these things occurred. The important thing was that the Unity Accord ceremony could continue. Ambassador Kim Junho knelt beside Mina's still body. His hands shook as he gently closed her eyes. She looked so young, so small on the gleaming floor. Her recording device lay nearby, its red light still blinking. Even in death, she had been trying to learn, trying to document everything for the people back home. Kim had watched this bright girl for months as she studied alien languages and practiced cultural gestures. She had been so excited about the ceremony, so hopeful about humanity's future among the stars. Now she was gone because she had spilled a drink and tried to say sorry. When Kim finally stood, his face showed no emotion at all. The other delegates expected anger, maybe tears, certainly demands for justice. Instead, they saw something much more frightening. Complete calm. I acknowledge the council statement, Kim said quietly. Earth will respond in due time. Within 6 hours, every human in council space received the same message. Return home immediately. No explanations. No delays. Come home now. The evacuation was swift and efficient. Human diplomats packed their belongings without a word. Human scientists abandoned their research projects. Human students left their alien classrooms. Human merchants closed their businesses and loaded their cargo ships. By the end of the week, not a single human remained in council territory. The aliens watched this exodus with growing confusion. Where were the angry demands for war? Where were the threats of revenge? The humans were simply leaving, as quietly as morning mist disappearing in sunlight. Perhaps they are more civilized than we thought, observed Counselor Zethmira during an emergency session. They understand that accidents happen in diplomatic situations. High Counselor Thekvar, who had received only a formal censure for his actions, seemed relieved. The primitive species knows its place, he declared. They accept our superior judgment in cultural matters. But if the Council had been monitoring Earth's communications, they would have detected something strange. All across human space, coded messages flowed between government facilities. Ships changed course toward classified destinations. Factories began producing components for projects that had no official names. On Earth, in a small apartment in Seoul, 2 professors sat in their kitchen drinking cold tea. Dr. Lee So-young stared at the official letter in her hands, reading the same words over and over. We regret to inform you that your daughter Park Mina was killed in an accident during diplomatic service. Her husband, Professor Park Hyun-woo, held Mina's last message from the space station. Their daughter's excited voice filled the quiet room. Mom, Dad, I can't wait to tell you everything I'm learning. The Velnari showed me how their music crystals work, and the Grovani taught me 3 new languages. I think I'm really making friends up here. I think I'm helping them understand humans better. So Young folded the official letter carefully. An accident, she whispered. Our little girl wanted to build bridges between worlds, Hyunwoo said, his voice barely audible. She died trying to apologize for spilling a drink. They sat in silence until a black government car arrived at their door. The men who visited them wore expensive suits and spoke in gentle voices. They explained that Mina's death was classified information for galactic security reasons. They offered counseling, financial support, anything the family needed. What we need is our daughter, So Young told them. We cannot give you that, the lead official replied. But we can promise you this. Park Mina's death will not be forgotten. Her sacrifice will have meaning. After the officials left, the grieving parents noticed something strange. Construction vehicles were arriving at facilities all across the city. New buildings were going up overnight, surrounded by security fences. Brilliant scientists and engineers were disappearing into classified projects. Dr. Choi Min-ho, who had been Seoul National University's top theoretical physicist just a week before, now found himself in a facility that officially did not exist. Around him worked nearly 400 of Earth's brightest minds. Mathematicians, engineers, weapons specialists, computer experts, and physicists who understood things that most humans couldn't even imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, announced a woman in a military uniform, you have been assembled to solve a problem. A 16-year-old girl named Park Mina was murdered by an alien who considered her life worthless. The galactic community has decided this is acceptable. We disagree. She activated a holographic display showing Mina's research logs. The girl's bright face appeared, speaking in alien languages, asking innocent questions about alien technology, documenting everything with the curiosity of a born scientist. This young woman spent 3 months learning about alien science. Her questions were simple, but they revealed profound truths about technologies we thought were beyond our understanding. She gave us the keys to advancement that should have taken centuries to achieve. The display changed to show technical specifications, energy readings, dimensional calculations. Park Mina wanted to help humanity join the galactic community as equals. Instead, she was murdered for a cultural mistake. The aliens expect us to accept their apology and move on. They expect us to know our place as a primitive species. The woman smiled, but it was not a kind expression. We are going to teach them about human justice. We are going to show them what happens when you murder one of our children. And when we are finished, they will never make this mistake again. In the depths of space, the monitoring stations recorded nothing unusual from Earth, just a quiet planet, grieving its loss and apparently accepting the Council's judgment. They had no idea that humanity was preparing something that would rewrite the rules of existence itself. 8 months after Park Mina's death, the first impossible thing happened. Commander Zekdal was drinking his morning Kent on the bridge of the monitoring station Vigilant Eye when his instruments began screaming warnings. The massive display screen showed the Kethmore system, where 4 billion of his people lived on 12 different worlds. Then the screen showed nothing at all. Computer malfunction, he muttered, tapping controls. Run full diagnostics. But the diagnostics came back clean. The instruments were working perfectly. The Kethmore system, with its bright yellow star, 12 planets, massive space stations, and 4 billion living beings, had simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not exploded, just gone. This is impossible, Zekdal whispered, staring at empty space where his cousin's family had lived just moments before. He immediately sent emergency messages to other monitoring stations. The responses that came back made his blood run cold. Every station was reporting the same thing. Kethmore had vanished completely. Not even gravity readings remained where the star had been. 3 days later, it happened again. The Keth Sol system disappeared while Commander Ivar was in the middle of a conversation with her brother on the 4th planet. One moment she was talking to him about his new baby. The next moment the communication cut to static. When she checked her sensors, the entire system was gone. Panic spread through Keth space like wildfire. Evacuation fleets launched from every remaining system, but they had nowhere safe to go. No one understood what was happening. No enemy ships had been detected. No weapon signatures were recorded. The systems weren't being attacked. They were being edited out of existence. High Counselor Thekvar, the same being who had killed Park Mina, found himself commanding the emergency evacuation of his home system. His magnificent palace, built over 3,000 years by his ancestors, was being packed into cargo ships. Ancient artifacts, priceless artworks, the accumulated treasures of the Keth Empire, all of it loaded frantically into vessels fleeing toward Council space. "How many systems have we lost?" he demanded of his aide, a young Keth named Velkat. 17, my lord," Velkat replied, his voice shaking. "The pattern is clear. They're targeting every system with significant Keth populations, moving systematically from the outer colonies toward the core worlds." Thekvar studied the tactical displays with growing horror. Whatever was destroying his people was methodical, patient, and absolutely thorough. No survivors. No debris. No evidence that the systems had ever existed. "Who is doing this?" he roared. "What enemy has such power?" Before Velkat could answer, every communication device in the command center activated simultaneously. The same message played from speakers throughout the ship, broadcast on every frequency. "High Counselor Thekvar." The voice was artificial, emotionless, speaking perfect Keth language. Every being on the bridge froze as the words continued. "You killed Park Mina, age 16, human, for the crime of spilling a beverage and attempting to apologize. Species evaluation complete. The Keth Empire has been assessed as irredeemably violent and unsuitable for continued existence. Extinction protocol, 73% complete." The message paused, and suddenly the screens filled with security footage from the ceremonial hall 8 months ago. Thekvar watched himself murder the young human girl, saw her confused expression as she fell. "This is not war," the artificial voice continued. "This is correction. The universe is being edited to remove a mistake." Thekvar's aide gasped as recognition dawned. "My lord, the humans. It's the humans doing this." The High Counselor laughed, but the sound was hollow. "Impossible. The humans are primitives. They barely have space travel. They accepted our apology and retreated to their small corner of the galaxy." But even as he spoke, he remembered the strange calmness of the human ambassador, the way they had left without threats or demands. He had thought it was weakness. Now, he wondered if it had been something else entirely. Dr. Zethkol, the Council's leading scientist, worked desperately in his laboratory aboard the research vessel Infinite Inquiry. His instruments detected no conventional weapons, no energy signatures that matched any known technology. The disappearing systems left no radiation, no particles, no trace that they had ever existed. "It's impossible," he muttered for the 100th time, reviewing his readings. "You cannot simply delete matter and energy from a universe. The fundamental laws of physics." His assistant, a young Velnari named Kessera, looked up from her calculations. "Doctor, what if they're not destroying the systems? What if they're making the universe forget they ever existed?" Zethkol stared at her. "Vacuum decay," he whispered. "They weaponize false vacuum bubbles. They're creating localized regions where the laws of physics themselves are being rewritten. The affected areas cascade into lower energy states, taking everything with them. The implications made his mind reel. Such technology was purely theoretical, something that existed only in the most advanced mathematical models. No known species had achieved anything close to this level of manipulation of fundamental forces. But how? Kessera asked. How did a primitive species develop such weapons in just 8 months? Zethkol thought about the human girl's research logs, which had been made public after her death. Her innocent questions about alien technology, her detailed observations, her endless curiosity about how things worked. "They learned from us," he said quietly. "The girl who died. She was documenting our technology, asking questions we thought were harmless. She gave them the keys to understanding physics they shouldn't have achieved for centuries." By the end of the week, 34 Keth systems had been erased. The mighty Keth Empire, which had ruled a quarter of the galaxy for 12,000 years, was being systematically removed from existence. In his final message to Galactic Council, High Counselor Thekvar sent a single warning. The humans are not what we thought. They are not primitive. They are not forgiving. They are something else entirely. And they will not stop until we are all gone. The message was transmitted just as his ship crossed into the final Keth system. Moments later, both the ship and the system vanished into the void, leaving only empty space where an empire had once stood. The Keth were no more. And humanity was just getting started. The Galactic Council chambers had never felt so empty. Where the mighty Keth delegation once sat in their ornate chairs made of crystallized starlight, there was now only vacant space. 47 empty seats that seemed to stare accusingly at every remaining delegate. The great hall buzzed with nervous whispers in a dozen different languages. Representatives from across the galaxy shifted uncomfortably in their seats, tentacles twitching, scales changing color with anxiety. Everyone knew why they were here, but no one wanted to speak the truth aloud. The Keth Empire was gone. Not conquered, not defeated in battle, but completely erased from existence. 600 billion beings had simply stopped being, as if they had never drawn breath in the first place. When the massive doors opened, complete silence fell over the chamber. Ambassador Kim Junho walked in alone, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. He looked exactly the same as 8 months ago, but something about him made even the largest alien species step back as he passed. In his hands, he carried only a simple data pad and a small recording device. His expression was calm, almost peaceful, like someone who had just finished organizing his desk. "Honorable counselors," Kim said, his voice carrying clearly to every corner of the hall. "I have come to discuss the murder of Park Mina. High Counselor Velterran, now the senior member since Thekvar's disappearance, spoke quickly. Ambassador Kim, the Council deeply regrets the unfortunate cultural misunderstanding that led to—" There was no misunderstanding. Kim's interruption was gentle but absolute. His tone was the same one might use to correct a child's simple mistake. High Counselor Thekvar murdered a 16-year-old girl, a girl whose only crime was being excited to meet new friends. He activated his datapad, and suddenly the chamber filled with Park Mina's voice. Her holographic image appeared in the center of the room, young and bright-eyed, speaking in careful alien languages as she practiced greetings for each species she would meet. "Hello, honored Velterran. I am Park Mina from Earth. I hope we can learn from each other. Greetings, wise Ethkol. My name is Park Mina. I would love to hear about your scientific discoveries. Respected Thekvar, I am Park Mina. I have studied your culture's beautiful art and poetry." The recording showed her working late into the night, memorizing cultural customs, learning pronunciation of difficult alien words, preparing small gifts that showed respect for each species' traditions. Her face glowed with pure excitement about the ceremony. "Park Mina spent 3 months preparing to meet you," Kim continued. "She learned 12 alien languages. She studied your histories, your art, your customs. She stayed up all night, making sure she wouldn't accidentally offend anyone." The hologram switched to security footage from the ceremonial hall. Every delegate watched in uncomfortable silence as the young girl stumbled, spilled her drink, and desperately tried to apologize. They saw her confusion as Thekvar raged, her innocent attempt to bow respectfully, her complete bewilderment in the final seconds before the blade fell. "She died because she spilled a drink and tried to say sorry," Kim said simply. "She died because your honorable High Council decided that a child's accidental mistake deserved death." Dr. Zekol, his blue scales now pale with fear, found his voice. "Ambassador, the technology you used. How did your species develop such advanced weapons so quickly?" Kim smiled, and somehow that expression was more terrifying than any battle cry. Park Mina was curious about everything. Her research logs contained detailed observations of your science, your engineering, your most classified technologies. She asked simple questions that revealed profound truths. The data pad projected new images, technical schematics, energy readings, dimensional equations. But these weren't alien designs. They were human innovations based on Mina's innocent questions. When she asked how your faster-than-light drives worked, She gave us the key to understanding dimensional folding. When she wondered about your energy weapons, she showed us how to manipulate quantum fields. When she marveled at your artificial gravity, she taught us to bend space and time itself. The chamber filled with a horrified realization that dozens of species had unknowingly handed their most advanced technologies to beings they considered primitive. In 8 months, humanity advanced from barely reaching our own moon to editing species out of existence. Kim continued. This transformation was not motivated by greed or conquest. It was motivated by grief, by love for a child who wanted nothing more than to bring us all together. He gestured to the empty Keth seats. The Keth Empire consisted of 47 star systems and 600 billion individuals. They had 12,000 years of history, art, and culture. As of yesterday, they never existed. Not destroyed, not conquered, but completely removed from reality itself. Counselor Velterran's biorhythm spiked with terror. What does Earth want from the Council? Kim turned toward the exit, then paused to look back at the assembled delegates. Nothing. We want nothing from you. We came here to explain what happened, not to negotiate. The Keth murdered an innocent child, so we corrected this error by removing them from existence. It's that simple. His voice carried a finality that made ancient species tremble. Park meant a dream of a galaxy where different species could understand each other, where we could learn and grow together. Honor her memory by proving she was right, because if you prove she was wrong. Kim gestured at the empty seats. Well, you've seen what happens then. As he walked toward the door, his footsteps echoed in absolute silence. Every delegate sat frozen, afraid to move, afraid to breathe too loudly. One more thing, Kim said without turning around. Earth is watching now. We have monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. Any species that harms an innocent will receive the same consideration we gave the Keth. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like thunder. For the first time in the Council's 1,000-year history, the great chamber remained completely silent for 3 full hours. 3 years had passed since the day the galaxy learned to fear humanity's silence. The great council chambers looked different now, though most delegates couldn't put their finger on exactly how. Perhaps it was the way conversations stopped whenever someone mentioned violence. Perhaps it was how every species had quietly begun teaching their children about something called cultural sensitivity. Or perhaps it was the human monitoring stations that now orbited every major world in council space. Ambassador Lee Ji-hoon stood at the speaker's podium, looking remarkably ordinary for someone representing the most feared species in the galaxy. He was younger than his predecessor, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses that reminded some delegates uncomfortably of the murdered girl. In his hands, he held a simple proposal document. "Honorable counselors," he began, his voice calm and pleasant. "Earth would like to present the Park Mina Initiative for Cultural Understanding." The name sent visible ripples of unease through the assembled aliens. Even 3 years later, speaking that name aloud felt dangerous, like invoking something that might notice you. Lee activated a holographic display showing educational facilities, translation programs, and cultural exchange centers. The initiative will establish learning centers throughout council space, designed to prevent the misunderstandings that lead to tragedy. Earth offers to share our knowledge to help all species better understand each other. High Counselor Velterran, who had aged considerably in the past 3 years, studied the proposal carefully. Their species lived for thousands of years, but the stress of constantly wondering if humanity might decide they were unsuitable for existence had taken its toll. "The Council appreciates Earth's generous offer," Velterran said slowly. "However, there are concerns about the technological disparities that have emerged since the correction of the Keth situation." Lee nodded understanding. "That's exactly why Earth is also proposing the Galactic Ethics Oversight Committee. Any species showing patterns of violence against innocents will receive counseling and monitoring. Those who continue such behaviors will receive intervention." The word intervention hung in the air like a death sentence. Everyone remembered what human intervention had meant for the Keth Empire. Dr. Yang Soo-bin, Earth Science Advisor, stood to address the technical questions that no one dared ask directly. She was a small woman with gentle features. But when she spoke, the most powerful beings in the galaxy listened with complete attention. Many of you wonder how humanity advanced so quickly, she said simply. The answer is necessity. When someone murders your children, you either evolve or you die. We chose evolution. The holographic display changed to show Earth itself, surrounded by a glittering shell of orbital habitats. Massive research facilities cover the moon's surface like silver flowers. Construction fleets worked on projects that stretched across entire solar systems. Park Mina's innocent questions gave us a foundation. Her death gave us the motivation. In 3 years, we've advanced further than most species do in millennia. We had to, because we appointed ourselves guardians of innocence in this galaxy. She paused, letting her words sink in. We monitor every world now. We watch every conflict, every disagreement, every moment when one species might harm another. Our scanning systems can detect violence anywhere in council space within minutes. Our response fleets can arrive anywhere in the galaxy within hours. The implications were staggering. Humanity had become the galaxy's immune system, ready to eliminate any threat to peaceful coexistence. Counselor Zethmira, whose scales had turned permanently pale since the Keth erasure, raised a trembling appendage. What defines innocence in human judgment? Lee's expression softened slightly. Children, always. Non-combatants. Those who cannot defend themselves. Anyone who means no harm to others. The standards are simple. Be kind, especially to the vulnerable. Help rather than hurt. Choose understanding over violence. He activated another display showing statistics from across the galaxy. Crime rates had plummeted. Wars had simply stopped. Species conflicts had become virtually non-existent. The results speak for themselves, Lee continued. Galaxy-wide violent crime has decreased by 94%. Interspecies conflicts are down 98%. Trade and cultural exchange have increased by 300%. Park Mina's dream of galactic understanding is coming true, but everyone in the chamber understood the unspoken truth. Peace hadn't come from wisdom or goodwill. It had come from terror. The galaxy behaved because humanity was watching, always ready to erase anyone who forgot the value of innocent life. Dr. Yang stepped forward again. Some of you fear us. We understand why. But remember, we didn't seek this responsibility. It was forced upon us when one of your own decided that a child's life meant nothing. We would much rather be exploring the stars, learning from you, sharing discoveries together. Her voice carried genuine sadness. Park Mina wanted to be a bridge between species. Instead, she became the reason humanity had to become your watchman. We don't enjoy this role, but we'll never abandon it. As the session concluded, Lee made one final statement that would be remembered in history books for millennia to come. Earth wants to be clear about our position. We have no desire for conquest or empire. We want what Park Mina wanted, a galaxy where different species meet in peace, learn from each other, and grow together. But understand this, we will never again allow the murder of innocents to go unanswered. He looked directly at each delegation, his kind eyes somehow conveying absolute certainty. The Keth learned there are fates worse than death. Complete erasure from existence itself. We hope no other species requires this lesson. Years later, historians would mark this moment as the beginning of the long peace. Children across the galaxy learned about kindness and understanding. Museums were built celebrating cooperation between species. But in quiet moments, when leaders looked up at the monitoring stations that dotted their skies, they remembered empty chairs where the Keth once sat. They remembered a 16-year-old human girl whose only crime was excitement about making friends. Park Mina had wanted to bring the galaxy together. Her dream had come true. It had just required the threat of complete annihilation to make it work.